Hello everyone. Yeah, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. And I'm Nicanor and I'm here with the second module right now. And the last module I introduced to you was a high native engineer. And right now we are going to see how everything works together. Now here that is where like now we understand how does the computer itself as a hardware and how as the programs that you're going to create as a software engineer work together. And we get to see a little bit of the tools that you're going to use and a bit of server. Now you want, let's go directly into why you need this. Let's start with the mental model. So when you say that your work is to direct AI to do its work, we mean that you are actually giving access, giving permissions, verifying that this information is actually correct, and you have to save this information at some point. So ask an AI like to save the user's data somewhere, and it'll give you different information depending on where you want it to be saved. So the only thing you should know is actually these five things, and these five things are going to be your core as a software engineer, whether you use AI or you don't use AI. How does a computer program run? What is a computer program? Where are the files actually being stored? If it is in your computer, where are you storing these files? And if it is in the internet or in the cloud, where are you storing them and how is it being accessed? And then you get to understand how these real software engineering hubs are being shaped. So let's get started. And this is actually what you're going to go through. I'm going to be really fast, but I'm also going to show you a bit of practicals here and there. What computer actually does, like now this is where we are going to talk about the inputs, the processing, the memory, and I think this actually almost everybody understands, but now I'm going to show you in the aspect of the software programs that you're going to build together with the AI. And then what is a program, like if you're asked what's a program, what's an app, what's a website, what's an application, like all these different names, they're just the same but they mean actually the same thing. And how we're going to access the files folders and the file system, and yeah, the rest of the things. So let's start with the first thing, like what does a computer what a computer actually does. If you open your computer basically, or if you access your phone, basically you have three important things: the input, the output, and the processing going in between. So with the processing, it works together with the memory. Input is something that is being taken. So the one, once you're typing your phone numbers, typing a message, that's an input. And then you are getting out something like an audio, something that you can read, like there is an output there. And there is the processing. So this is now when something is being actualized, that a message or that phone number is being taken from one point to the other. And then we have the storage. So we have the temporary storage, whereby this is the RAM, and then you have the permanent storage, whereby you store for long-term use. And these are basic things, but it actually shapes your information. So like if you are to write something into your software program, you need to process the input, and then you need to go to store it somewhere. Are you going to store it temporarily, or are you going to store it permanently? So you always need to understand the distinguish between to distinguish that. What is a computer program? When you say you are writing an application, or you're writing a computer program, you're writing a software solution, we actually mean the same thing, but it is just different names. We mean that it's just instruction. You're in giving instructions to your computer to do specific things. So these might be different depending on the program that you're writing for. Maybe this program is to be used in the mobile application. Maybe it is to be used in the computer. Maybe it is to be used on the phone, on the server. Depending on where it is supposed to be accessed, then the instructions will be different. So it is just like when you're cooking, you follow the step by step on how you cook. You get the price, you get the everything, and then you execute. You do from one point to the other. You can't do the final thing before you start from the beginning. So it has to be a step by step. So that is exactly the same way the program is. You have to do these things one at a time. And it's always, as I said, different, but you have to get these instructions. And if you're directing also a high, then you have to understand how you're going to direct AI to cook for you a specific meal. How are the files, folders, and file system? This is actually also very important. It is like file cabinets in storage whereby you need to store something and you have to store specific things or specific cabinets. And that is exactly the same way on computer programs. The more your program grows, the more your file system grows. So the file systems is actually very important. And let me actually show you. And there's a lot of these commands that you should know, the Unix commands. But I will show you this in another video. So just to show you the file system, and I'm accessing this via the terminal, which is actually a very common one in the field. Right now, if I show you the part that I'm in, this is the part, and this is basically where you're storing your project. Like, where is your project going to be stored and how will you access it? And if I list what is available in this folder, then I have the module 1 here, and then we can access this module 1 and we can see the contents that it has. Now in your client server architecture, or how you're going to access this, then you should access now the index.html, and this is where your clients will be interacting with. And if I do view what is available there, there is nothing, since I just created these files. And there are a lot of things that you can't do with this, and you can create one like JavaScript. And if we list what is available here, then this is it. So the reason why you need to know where you're storing the files is when you want to update something, you want to create a new one, you want to add something, you want to edit, or you want to host it in the server. How does the internet work and how does everything work together? So we have the basic one, whereby an internet is like a collection of computers, basically. So if we collect computers in a campus together, then we have a campus internet or intranet. So basically we have one computer that is a client and another one that is a server. So the server is the one that is producing request or giving people something, and the client is the one that is requesting. An example is when you have your phone. If you are using your phone, then basically you're a client and then you're requesting something. So if you send something on Google, google.com, it's going to take a minute or a second. That is because the request is being sent somewhere to the server, and then the server gives you back the information. Something that is actually very important to note is in between the client and server, there can be a lot of things that go in between, but I don't want us to talk about this right now. I'm going to show you this later. So we have a basic one that is always being put here, like an API, or whereby an API is just something that gets you data. And then we have other things that goes in between also there, and a lot of things that go into the server, a lot of things that go into the client. But just know the high level things before we dive into more. And the main thing, or over the recent years, you might have had these terms. We have the front end, the back end, the database. So we have like now each and every of these engineer. And if we go back to our client server architecture, this is where we have our front end, our back end, and our database. So the front end here is the client, the back end is the server, and then we also have the database being like a server, depending on your program, what it does. And the client is basically the hotel or the restaurant. When you go to the restaurant, you sit at the specific table. You're sitting at the front end. The back end is the kitchen, And then you have the database being a place whereby they're storing items. So we have the pantry. Then we have somebody who acts between the front end, back end, and database, and that can be a waiter. And then you have the chef in the kitchen going from the back end to the database, and from the front end to the back end, you have the API, which is like a waiter in this case. That is it for this video. It was a very direct and very short one on how everything works together. See you in the next one.